So I asked ChatGPT what are the 10 questions that first time buyers should ask owners, and let's see what it come up with. I haven't really looked at this a lot. And so here we go. Okay. Let's go and make this full screen. And there we go. ChatGPT 4, I believe, the newest one. What are the 10 questions that first time SMB buyers should ask owners on the first call? Why are you selling the business as the first question it gives you? This it comes up as a red flag to some buyers, but it's not really. Um, Maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not. Probably not the first call. Probably wait to say this later on. They're probably going to tell you at some point. You want the first call to sound conversational. We go over all this at 5y.biz, which is my newsletter or coaching program, either one you want to get into. How long have you owned the business? Now, this is important because let's say that the buyer or the owner bought the business, there might be some debt attached with it or something like that, or there might be a better name that you didn't know about because the business was founded in 64 and they bought it in 94 or something like that. It might be a family business. That would be a better question to ask. How long you've owned it. Can you describe the business's day-to-day operations? That's a fine question to ask. You might want to say who runs the show, who's in charge. What you don't want as an owner is you don't want the buyer to buy you because they're not buying you, they're buying the business. And so that's a good question to ask there. Who's running this day-to-day operations? What are the business key revenue streams? Maybe it depends. You should have done some homework on this already on the website, but it's a good question to ask. There might be some um, stuff that the owner's leaving on the table that they haven't thought about. Are there any current or upcoming challenges in the industry? You might get an honest answer. You might get a heavily politicized answer. Well, if Trump wins this or if Biden wins that, you might get that. So be careful how much stock you put into that answer if you do ask that question. What is a business's competitive advantage? This is going to be the owner's take on it. This is a personal, you're going to take over. And so if they say employees, what if all employees quit? Well, of course, the current owner doesn't think that. You might run them off. If the current owner says, me, okay, that's a problem, but competitive advantage, I wouldn't go too much into on the first call, especially. Can you provide an overview of the customer base? Now, this is a good question. This is something that you want to explore is customer concentration. How much of the business comes from exactly 1% or 20% or 50% or 90% or 95% of a current client. That's something that you want to ask. You see this more with B2B. B2C is usually spread out, but B2B, sometimes it is one or two customers, makes up all of their base. It just depends on the business. What is the financial situation of the business? I'd be careful about this one. It's something that you want to ask. Ask what their top line is and what the net is. Most owners don't know EBITDA, which is fine. If you don't know an EBITDA and you're an owner, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of it. Most owners don't know that. But I'd be careful how you frame this question more than anything else. Are there any key employees and what are their roles? You kind of already asked this under the second, under, who runs it today. They probably already told you this. So probably omit that if you're going to ask the other question. And what other opportunities for growth do you see in the business? This is a trick question here because most owners will tell you, I live in a little town called Granbury, Texas. There's 60,000 people here. Most owners will tell you, well, there's 60,000 people there. Okay, cool. How many are you doing business with? Not many. Great. Okay. Sure, I could go collect all 60,000, but a growing market or a booming market or a market that I don't have a lot of share of doesn't mean that you, the new buyer, is going to get a lot of market share. So be careful with this one. We do have one where it's very niche and they don't have things that the buyer, that their client would expect them to have. And so you can see stuff like that, but be careful on what you're getting here. If it's going to be fluff, it's going to be real. So those are the 10 questions from ChatGPT. We're going to go through this, of course, at my website, 5y.biz, or you can go to rjhub.com and find out more stuff about buying or selling a business if you're interested. Thank you for your time. And hey, if you made it to the end, drop a subscribe at the subscribe button and a like. It would help us know that you like this kind of content.